So this year, I'm a gardener, first off. I'm a gardener to the point where if I could, or if I can, I will grow all of my own food. If that is a possibility, of course, there's things that you can't grow, like, you know, chickens and cows. Well, I mean, you can grow chickens, you can grow cows. Anyway, I like eating my own food from my own garden. And I like to do it organic. And I don't like pesticides and I don't like any of that kind of stuff, right? So and I grow a lot of herbs. And I use a lot of herbs in my herbal products. You can find those on my webpage. Link is below. I do organic, natural products, beauty, shampoo, lotion, all different kinds of stuff. Stuff for men, stuff for women. Anyway, and I use the herbs that I grow in those products, unless it's something that I can't grow, that only grows in, southern states or really far north, or, something that doesn't grow in my area. If I can grow it myself, I do it myself. And this year, I mean, my garden is stunning most of the time. I have a little greenhouse. I start my seeds inside. I move them into the greenhouse. And then I plant everything out. So I do fruits, vegetables, herbs, spices, pretty much anything that I can possibly grow. And I love it. I enjoy it so much. It's not even funny. I mean, it's it is a magical thing to garden. And it's a magical experience. Well, this year has not been magical. I planted out a bed of carrots, a bed of celery, a bed of spinach, some Brussels sprouts, broccoli, a bunch of different stuff. We were in a state of drought. And I mean, like, bad drought, to the point where it didn't matter if it was raised beds or if it was in ground. I was watering, and the water would sit on the very top of the surface, and it wouldn't penetrate down in to the roots of the plant. And I was losing plants. It was a bad drought. I had to finally go out and do consecutive waterings just to make a difference, to make an impact on my garden. Even then, I lost tons of stuff. I would say the majority of what I planted died, did not make it. It was way too hot, way too early. So generally in the springtime, we get showers, daily showers, thunderstorms, that kind of thing. We didn't get any. And it went from 60 during the day to 90 in overnight. And we had so many grasshoppers. I mean, millions of grasshoppers. They stripped every plant and every bush in my garden down to nothing. Down to literally nothing. I have a rose bush in the front of my house that is probably, I'm going to say it gets about 8 to 10 feet tall and about 6 feet wide. And it just, I mean, it's just this massive. It didn't have one single leaf on it. I bought a fig tree. The poor fig tree got stripped of, of its leaves, like right away. I don't know if you guys know what Russian sage is. Russian sage is, um, it's a not, it's not white sage. It's not garden sage. It's Russian sage. It's really pretty. It's very purple, shrub type plant that grows in like the West and the South. And anyway, my Russian sage never even, normally it comes up, it's huge, it's got flowers everywhere, it's, shooting out babies everywhere. I have to cut back the babies just to keep it under control. Nothing. Stripped. My neighbors stripped. Literally everybody's yards looked like it was winter. There was no green on anything. I can't even tell you. They went and they ate like the plants that they obviously liked really well first, and left the ones that they didn't like quite as much. Like I have a flowering almond, and they had just started working on the flowering almond about the time that they started dying off. And I have to hand water my garden. I have probably just under a quarter of an acre, I believe, of land, and I water it mostly by hand. So drought situations, and it's pretty hard. It's pretty difficult. So my point is, I was going through and watering my yard. And normally, the garden experience of watering is a very abundant, magical time. You go out to the garden and you get to see all the new leaves that have come up, or all the plants that have sprouted, or all the little babies that have sprouted off of that plant, or the flowers that have come up, or the butterflies, or there's various little bugs that you look forward to seeing during the year, and you want to see if the clematis that you planted is going to double in size or triple in size this year, and will it get flowers, and all that kind of stuff. And the chives, the chives come up and they have these beautiful blooms, these purple blooms, and you can't wait to harvest all this stuff and get it dried and prepped and put up. I haven't done any of that this year. None. And I was so discouraged. Literally, my sage, I have sage bushes that there's like probably 3 or 4 of them that are like 4 feet long. They're probably 2 feet tall. And I normally have to harvest those several times a year. I haven't touched them. They didn't have one single leaf on them. My raspberry bushes, which harvesting raspberry leaves are great for medicinal. There was nothing to harvest. They had ate everything. So during this period of time, and I'm talking like all of spring, not so early that I didn't grow mass amounts of seedlings to plant out, only to have them eaten by these bugs. Literally, my elderberry tree stripped, not one leaf on the elderberry. My lilac tree, no leaves. It was horrible, you guys. Horrible. Drought and millions of grasshoppers. And I was so discouraged. I would go out there and water every day. Every day I would look at it and I would see this destruction and this brown, no life, no beauty, no green, no flowers. You know, I would think back to how things were last year or the year before or the year before that, and I would think like, okay, lemon balm, I have like this huge patch of lemon balm, and I remember thinking, God, this patch was huge, and this year it's like a little clump over here and a little clump over here. It was devastating. Anything that I tried to plant, I tried to plant oregano, it all died. I tried to plant a rose of Sharon because I wanted hibiscus tea, died. I tried to plant a bunch of calendula. I can't even tell you. Oh, zinnias. All my zinnias died. I love zinnias like crazy. They all died. Through this whole and entire time, and I'm talking, let's see, I started early. I started in like just late December, early January, started my seeds. So I had a head start. I wanted them kind of big. I moved them to the greenhouse pretty early. They were getting quite large before I planted them out, and that was what I was shooting for. I wanted pretty big starts this year, and I got pretty big starts, and I planted them out, and they were demolished. They were eaten. They were gone. So instead of going out and watering them and seeing how beautiful they were and how they had grown, doubled the size, and they were so beautiful, and I was just so in love with the garden. So in love. And seeing all this beauty that was happening and getting excited and thinking about the new things that I wanted to do. Yeah, none of that was there. It was devastating. And it was so hard to get up day after day and go out there and continue to water, even though there were no leaves on any plants. It was just sticks. It was just barren. Nothing there. Now, I thought about quitting. I thought about giving up. I thought, why am I doing this? This is absolutely ridiculous. I'm going out here every day. I'm watering. Nothing is happening. In fact, the exact opposite is happening of what's supposed to happen, which is it's supposed to be beautiful and green and lush and productive. And it's getting worse every day. It's getting worse. But I continued to water because I knew. I have learned over the years that you never quit. I don't care what you're doing. If you want this thing, if you want something to be a certain way, if you want it to flourish, you have to keep going. But it was hard. It was really hard to go out there every day and do this over and over and over. And we are talking, we're in August now. We're getting ready to go into September. And I started putting plants out in February, I think it was. Or no, sorry. End of March, beginning of April was when I started strategically putting plants out that could handle the cold weather. If we got a snowstorm or we got a hailstorm or something like that. So by the time Mother's Day rolled around, and that's our push to grow things, it was obvious that nothing was going to grow. And everything that I had already put out was dying. So there really wasn't any point in continuing or in planting. But I kept watering. It was so hard. Every single day I would go out there and I would look at it and I would think, why am I doing this? This is not going to get better. It's not going to turn magical because I'm watering it. There is nothing that I can do to make this magical like it was, like it always has been. It was up to God. It was up to the angels. It was up to Mother Nature to make my garden magical again, to get rid of all these bugs. Well, lo and behold, August comes around. The bugs, I'm not going to say that they all disappeared, okay? I have chickens, and I rotated my chickens during the day through my garden. That was another problem. I subjected my garden to chicken abuse in an effort to keep the chickens eating the bugs. So I had to let them into the garden so that they would consume the bugs, but at the risk that they were going to destroy my garden, which of course they did. So it was kind of a comedy of errors. I have a dog who decided she loved eating crickets. Okay? Crunch, crunch, crunch. While I'm watering, this dog crunch, crunch, crunch. It was like a cricket, or not cricket, but grasshopper bouquet for everybody but me. Okay? I'm witnessing. The chickens are loving it. The chickens are eating all the grasshoppers. The dogs eating the grasshoppers. They're having a blast running around the yard trying to eat these grasshoppers. And I'm thinking, what in the hell? Well, August came around. I made it through to August, and all of a sudden, it started raining every day. All the rain that we normally have in the spring months started in the late summer, which was really odd. It was like every day we would have rainstorms, thunderstorms, so I wouldn't have to water, which was great. And then all of a sudden we get strawberries blooming, and the lilac is getting leaves back, and the roses are getting leaves back. And the bugs are gone. You can go outside and you don't have like 500 of them trying to jump on you. And all of a sudden, instead of all these plants that are just look like they're dead, they're all of a sudden thriving. They're all of a sudden getting leaves. And they're all of a sudden, the raspberries are starting to produce raspberries. And all of a sudden, the cabbage is growing. There's so many things that are growing. And I was thinking, as I'm watering, that life is like this. This is a representation of life. And especially right now. We are in this time where there's like 1 million grasshoppers demolishing everything. There's things that are just being demolished everywhere. There's like all this doom and gloom and horrible things that are happening. And it's hard to get up every day and go out there and do it again. But you have to know that it will not be that way forever. It will change. Everything changes. So if you are in a difficult time, if you are trying to get yourself out the door to go water your garden and you don't really want to because there's no beauty, there's no abundance, there's no, it's just ick. It's just ick. Everything's ick. Don't stop. Keep watering your garden. You don't have to say anything. You don't have to tell anybody. You don't have to make any declarations about anything. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And all of a sudden, one day, everything will change. And you will be sitting around talking to your friends, your family, or doing a YouTube video about your horrible gardening summer, spring and summer, and how all of a sudden fall is almost here and spring has sprung again. Spring came this year, and I got to see all the leaves and all the flowers and everything starting to take off. And then all of a sudden, it all just got wiped out. It was all gone. Completely gone. Barren. And then all of a sudden, August comes around, which you can still grow in August. Fall crops are quite abundant. But literally, it's like we were given a second spring. So even though it seemed like we were getting the shaft, we were, Mother Nature, universe, whatever, was giving us a raw deal about a bad luck. It actually turns out that we got 2 springs in 1 year. And that is really amazing. So now, every day when I go outside and I look, there are new flowers that are popping up. There's new plants that are thriving. There's all these plants that I thought possibly were dead because they had been stripped of every leaf. they're now thriving. So instead of looking at it like I got screwed out of a good growing season, I actually realized that I got 2 growing seasons. Now, I didn't get much in the way of produce when I came to the first one, but the experience was that we had 2 springs this year. And I am very grateful for that, even though the drought was very hard to deal with, and so were the grasshoppers. And it was very sad to see all of my plants die off. Now I'm watching all of them come back, and I am so excited about how beautiful it is. And I am just thrilled to know that I will harvest carrots. I will harvest celery. I will have lettuce. I will have all of these things that I have planted. Potatoes. Potatoes. That was quite a thing. Anyway, the season was not lost. And in the fall, I will be doing my usual and enjoying the harvest of my garden. And it happened in a year where I got to have 2 springs. And I love spring. Blessings.